Every single genre of music requires fans in order for it to be a successful movement. Heavy metal is no different, and this is something that has caused and sparked a little bit of controversy over the years, principally because heavy metal itself is a bit of a controversial genre. It's one where the fans definitely have gotten this very large loyalty for heavy metal, not to mention all of its various bands, some of its imagery, and the things that are associated with it. It's kind of its own counterculture, which makes it sometimes not easy to understand for those who are outsiders. However, there are some out there that don't just misunderstand heavy metal fans, or don't just, kind of look at them as a little bit different and go about their day. They flat out dislike heavy metal individuals or heavy metal fans, and it's definitely kind of apparent that they have a couple of reasons why. What's really interesting about this topic is the fact that it's not only just folks that are on the outside, but also it's sometimes folks on the inside that just don't like some of their fellow heavy metal fans, which really makes things confusing. It's kind of like Inception, only stupid. So anyway, let's talk about this a little bit on a very special 5 Reasons episode. Here's 5 reasons why people hate heavy metal fans. And we're going to start off, of course, with number 5. Number 5, they're aggressive and argumentative. Now this is, of course, one that's being stated about the vocal minority. But it's an argument that I see way too often. Many on the outside are those that feel that they just can't get along with heavy metal fans, cite that it's because they're very loud, they're a bit aggressive with their tastes and with their thoughts, and they can be very argumentative about how they feel. It's something where they are at least trying to present some sort of argument or counter-argument, but it's being done in a way that feels like it's rooted in a defensive mode as opposed to an offensive stance. It's something where they're trying to defend their music and defend their choices, almost as though their whole entire lifestyle is being placed under attack by you simply saying that you think that Prince is better than Cannibal Corpse. Regardless of what it may be, this is one that also holds a little bit of merit, considering there are some, especially those who are younger and just getting started in the heavy metal universe, that tend to take the whole thing very seriously and tend to have it reflect their lives. But even some aging veterans will swear so much by metal that whenever it comes to anything else or any other sort of contact, will sometimes be very much on the defensive, either that or reflect themselves in a poor way. This actually casts a bit of a negative shadow, and some people associate that more with the genre of music that they're reflecting, perhaps with either their dress or what they've reflected through their speech, as opposed to the person themselves. It's kind of stupid, but it's something that's out there. Amazing as it sounds, I was amazed too. Number 4, the religious issue and the counterculture idea. This is something that's based around the topicality of heavy metal. The fact that in some cases, some bands like to talk about, things that don't exactly support Christianity, or religion in general. Some may also not exactly be too friendly toward black people, or gay people. It may seem like heavy metal just has it out for everybody. It's literally heavy metal versus the world, versus every culture that's out there. Maybe heavy metal is secretly a social justice warrior toward heavy metal. It's its own SJW. And then there's going to be a metal band that just defames SJWs, and then it's going to become an SJWW, so a social justice warrior. My head just hurt. But at any rate, this is something that causes a great deal of confusion, not to mention also a great deal of poor thought. Consider a couple of the things that we've seen over the past couple of years. The satanic Illuminati idea that was presented by a couple of YouTubers. And then, of course, consider how folks reacted to the deaths in a car accident of members of Wormreich and Chaotica, and see how the religious folks were able to respond saying that it was good that they were dead and they were going to hell because they were in a black metal band. So basically you have the logical antithesis to the light with the dark apparently being, heavy metal, and the light being, religion, God. Oh, angels we have heard on high. Angels that are probably a little high. This is one that's taken way out of proportion, but it's once again something that sort of goes with that whole good versus evil, yin versus yang, black versus white idea. It's two completely separate sections of societal thought, which of course is the reason why they are natural enemies. Now, whenever it comes to some of the other countercultures that heavy metal is supposedly against, that's a vocal minority. And really, even whenever it comes to the religious thing, that's a minority. There's even a minority of groups that are light metal. There's Christian metal. Again, my head hurts. Number 3, it's either dangerous or lame, and that means either the fans or the perception of them or the music itself. This one is just stupid. I really don't like this one, but it's something that I see quite often. I can't get into that heavy metal guy or girl over there because they listen to really scary music. They probably just sit at home in their basement playing Dungeons and Dragons and just talk about metal all day. Oh, they're really, really lame, but that battle jacket, those spikes, what happens if they have to scratch themselves? Do they, scratch themselves with the spikes? Is there blood everywhere? Why do they like that stuff? I don't know why I just made the popular person sound like the lame-o, but that's kind of just why these things are done live. Yeah, this is just as stupid as it sounds. There is a perception out there that if you're into heavy metal, you're either a very dangerous individual or you're somebody who's probably jobless because of your long hair and your 5 piercings and 17 tattoos, all heavy metal related. There's tungsten in there somewhere and maybe a little bit of, aluminum. But they are also somebody that's just not worth talking to because you might burn down a church or kill a dog. There's associations with serial killers that even have come based around this. Some people are that silly. Some people believe, and really it doesn't help sometimes whenever it's reflected in the media, such as television, that folks that listen to harder music tend to be more associated in criminal activity, whether it be based off of drugs. If you go out with that heavy metal boy, you're going to start smoking the pot. Wow, that mother's really lame. If you go out with that heavy metal chick, she's going to influence you and make you kill us with a butcher knife. Sounds like you deserve it, sir. This is something that's absolutely absurd. Most of us just go about our day like everybody else, and I'm saying that as a heavy metal fan. Let's get in the ones that are a little bit more, controversial and actually involve some people from within. This is the part of the video where it starts to get a little less fun. Number 2, elitism and infighting. From an outsider's perspective, this isn't something that's seen as much. Well, it wasn't seen as much until the social media age. And really, even within that, the whole idea of elitism and infighting is a relatively newer escalating trend within heavy metal. This is something that has a lot to do with the old versus new philosophy. Those that have been in heavy metal for a long time can't seem to get into these new bands that are coming out, whether it be metalcore, deathcore, Avenged Sevenfold, or, modern metal, and just can't seem to, let go of some of the relics of the past. Meanwhile, some of the newer fans can't get into some of the older stuff because they don't feel that it's heavy enough or brutal enough. So somebody listening to brand new death metal or deathcore bands might not be able to get into a new wave of British heavy metal band because it's not heavy enough. Where's the beatdowns? Where's the breakdowns, bro? And the beatdowns. Wow. There's a lot of infighting based around that. There's a lot of infighting based around genre specification, which really shouldn't matter in the long run. We now have 77 different sub-genres and 127 sub-genres, all to go with under, 8 banner genres of heavy metal, which in itself is one main, wow. There's a lot of fucking stupidity that comes with this. Whenever it comes to the elitism, though, it has everything to do with what metal is better, what metal isn't, and whether or not you should be considered metal enough for the metal club based around your opinions on something. Don't like Pantera? You can't be in the metal club. Fuck you, don't let the door hit you on the dick on the way out. That's at least what they want you to think. The reality of it is that heavy metal from the inside doesn't exactly paint itself to be the most, friendly of places to be. But it's definitely not one because there's secret fight clubs that happen. It's not like the 1990s where there were black metal band members that were actively trying to, assassinate one another. They weren't burning churches. There's no churches being burnt today either. It's instead something where it's just a bunch of... And I'm sorry to say, but that's the reality of it. The reality of it is that there's a lot less agreeance and a lot more grievance that goes on, whenever in reality, metal should reflect itself a little bit better by a lot more sharing, a lot more showcase, and a little bit of mutual understanding. From the outsider's perspective, if you're taking all of that in, it's no doubt easy to see why it's kind of easier to just stick with the Katy Perry albums. Number 1, no other music is worthy. I read a line that once really reflected this statement, perhaps in the best way possible. Metal is a genre that is all about exclusion. Yeah, a lot of people say that it's all about inclusion, similar to what ICP is for people of underprivileged homes that have all these problems. They're an inclusive band that brings them in. They're all together. Juggalos are one big family. And a lot of times people will say that heavy metal is one big family. But in reality, it's more exclusive than you might think. It's something that does have a lot of exclusion as a part of it, which may seem a bit absurd to even think about. But consider some of the concepts that I just presented with number 2, with elitism and infighting. The fact that you can't be metal enough or you should turn in your metal card simply because you don't hold a band in as high of esteem as somebody else, or one that seems to be at least a more popular opinion. Just the fact that that exists by itself definitely showcases that whole exclusivity idea. And this is something that a lot of people hold on dear because, their precious metal can't be invaded with other ideas, such as, maybe progression, maybe drone, maybe pop, maybe rock, maybe this, maybe that. Maybe a trio of girls from Japan that are no older than an 18-year-old. Wow. It is something that definitely perpetuates this idea. And it's something that is also perpetuated in the idea that if you listen to heavy metal and you listen to something else, what the hell is wrong with you? This is something that's also just based around a bit of a vocal minority. These folks tend to be a little bit louder than other people. They tend to be very proud that they listen to music that they've deemed to be the most brutal, the most aggressive, either that or the most gifted musicians on the planet, and that nothing else really holds a candle to it. And while you can understand that listening to the best is something that everybody quests to do, and perhaps will take a little bit of pride in doing so, this is once again the complete opposite way to promote heavy metal. Heavy metal is an extremely inclusive genre, and that's why this is a bit of a misnomer. It's one that's kind of half and half, because whenever you consider the wide breadth that heavy metal actually encompasses with some of its several subgenres, several of the bands that are included within the heavy metal universe, that's whenever you start to realize that this is not nearly as exclusive from a band perspective. It's something that's being completely done from a fan perspective. Once again, fans tend to be the thing that tend to ruin things. Either that or be the most ridiculous aspect of something. It's something that's been said on a couple of the other videos within this series, and considering this one's all about the fans, well, it makes sense that their own attitudes are one of the main reasons why this is number 1, and one of the main reasons why people hate them. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 5 reasons why people hate heavy metal fans. 5 reasons why people hate us! That's right, this is a heavy metal channel. I'm a heavy metal fan! I love this stuff! I've loved this stuff since the latter portion of the 1990s, since 1998. So I've been in this, as of this year, for 18 years. It's something that really, only within the past couple of years has it really seemed like it's been blown to this ridiculous level. Whenever I was growing up in heavy metal, and believe me, whenever I say that, I'm acting like whenever I was 22, it was like my 4th metal birthday, or whatever the fuck the math is. It was something that, it was different to like heavy metal, and so it was something that many people were questing to maybe understand a little bit better. Sure, they looked at you a little bit funny and maybe acted like you were going to bomb a school or something. Thanks, Columbine. But it was also something where you were able to really recruit some people on board, or at least show them some new things and have them kind of bob their head and say, hey, yeah, I could probably get into some of this. These days, it seems like there's so much external influence, or so much influence that's being done, and so much information that's being thrust that is trying to showcase metal as being the superior juggernaut, which is really interesting considering some people say that heavy metal is meant to be exclusive, it's not meant to be popular, and then whine and complain whenever heavy metal isn't more popular. Metal fans are really confusing. I should know. I'm one of them. If there's something that you think that we missed about this, let me know in the comments below. My name is coverkillernation, and as a fun little fact, this was being recorded during a 6-hour Patreon stream for May. If you want to be a patron, there's a link in the comments below for you to come on board. And if you want to be a part of the Cover Killer Nation, hit the subscribe button that's right down here to my bottom right. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.